Hiking the Appalachian Trail. Introduction. My name is Ben and I work as a physiotherapist in Western Massachusetts, providing healing to people who suffer emotional distress. I love my job, but sometimes I need a break. When that happens, I go for a walk in the forest to help me regroup. In 2015, I became so overwhelmed by my work that I decided an especially long break. I decided it was time to fulfill the childhood dream and hike the entire length of the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail, or AT, is nearly 100 years old. In 1921, while standing on a mountaintop in Vermont, conservationist Benton MacKay convinced the Grand Trail that would connect the Appalachian Mountains of the East United States along with their highest ridgelines. Once it was completed in 1937, the AT became and remains the world's longest hiking-only footpath. The AT begins on Springer Mountain in Georgia and travels over 2,000 miles north. It runs through 14 U.S. states, ending on Mountain Katahdin in Maine. Many people refer to AT as the Green Tunnel because it passes through a lot of dense green forests. The trail also goes through farmland, alongside rivers, and even through backyards. Hiking an entire long-distance trail in 1 year is called through hiking. Most through hikers begin in spring and hike north, as I did, because it's already warm down south. Thousands of people try to complete an AT through hike each year, but only a few hundred succeed. I'm riding as one of the lucky few who have completed this grueling and demanding endeavor. Preparation is key. I spent several months intensively preparing for my through hike. I walked everywhere I could with my full backpack on. I did many practice hikes in poor weather to learn about what supplies I would need. I got a job at an outdoor store. I tried to save as much as money I could. After months of preparation, I was ready to start hiking. I rode the train from New York City to Altana, Georgia, and got a ride to the trailhead. I took my first step on April 4th, 2016. My through hike had begun. The next few days were some of the hardest. My body and mind had to acclimate to the daily challenges of hiking. The trail community. Since I have heard about the AT as a kid, the notion of its trail community intrigued me. Just imagine an entire community constantly moving at different speeds, sprawling across 2,190 miles of continuous trail measuring only a few feet wide. Interesting people of all ages, cultural backgrounds, and abilities choose to hike the AT each year. I met many veterans who have recently returned from overseas. Many people were hiking to recover the trauma and tragedies. Everyone I met on the was on their AT for a reason, and everyone had a story to tell. Where some through hikers hiked with a group. I choose to hike alone most of the time because I enjoy meeting new people and keeping my own schedule. Whenever I felt lonely, I could find friends and fellow hikers. The AT was a special place where I could strike a perfect balance between solitude and good company. Daily challenges. One of the most difficult aspects of hiking every single day was just that, hiking every single day. Most thru hikers subsist on inexpensive foods that are lightweight and easy to prepare and won't spoil. On a typical day on the trail, I woke up with the sun, hiked until I reached my daily goal, and got to camp just before sunset. The distance I hiked every day varied depending on the weather and terrain, as well as my personal goals and level of exhaustion. I typically tried to stay at campsites that had a lean-to shelter, a water source, and an outhouse. Otherwise, I set up my small tent. On rainy days, I planned my whole day around arriving at the shelter in time to get a spot. As shelters can fill up quickly in bad weather, sometimes it rained non-stop for several days in a row, so I couldn't fully dry out until I reached the town. Every few days I went into a nearby town to replenish my food, take a shower, and do my laundry. I learned that properly resting and resupplying were just as important as hiking. The most important concern while hiking is safety. On my through hike, I encountered black bears, venomous snakes, and disease-carrying ticks. Knowing that what to do when faced with unsavory critters is critical to staying safe in the woods. Remain calm, act respectfully, and keep a safe distance. I filtered all my water and was cautious about hygiene to avoid getting sick. To prevent hypothermia, I stayed dry and warm, having the right shoes and making sure I rested when I felt it was necessary helped me avoid injuries. Keeping my gear well organized allows me to prepare in case of an emergency. Taking in touch with loved ones was important both for safety and for address and the homesickness that came with spending months alone in the woods. Although I felt very happy most of the time, one of the biggest challenges I faced was that hiking was not always fun. In fact, it was often very hungry, exhausted, and sore. Sometimes I even got bored. I learned that the best way to overcome these challenges was to lean on people around me, the trail community, for support. Like the beginning of my hike, the end was difficult. With the fall season in full swing, it had started getting cold at night, and I was hungrier than I had ever felt. The mountains of North New England were undoubtedly the hardest to climb. The pace was cut in half as I transferred the steep White Mountains in New Hampshire and the rugged ranges of Southern Maine. After nearly 6 months of hiking, I did it. I summited Mountain Katahdin on October 1st, 2016. However difficult there were, these last days on the trail were also unlike my first. I felt as though I was a different person than when I had started hiking. I never felt so strong, confident, and accomplished. As a child, I rarely played sports, but after the through hiking, I could call myself an athlete for the first time. Reflections. Since I finished my hiking, many people have asked me about my favorite memories. My fondest memories were those times when a challenge that seemed insurmountable turned into something beautiful. One night when I was camping alone on a treeless mountain top, the strong winds and heavy rain caused my tent to collapse. I became frustrated and afraid. At 3 a.m., I gave up trying to sleep and decided to take my belongings, eat breakfast, and start hiking. What followed was the most amazing sunrise I've ever seen. All alone on a mountaintop, I'd faced a challenge that at first seemed impossible, but over time became something incredible. Many people ask me, "How did you do it?" I told them that I hiked the entire Appalachian Trail the same way you do everything else, one step at a time. People have also asked me, "Why did you do it?" Looking back, the reasons I kept going were different from my reasons when I began. I felt so surrounded by love and support that those around me and at home that I never really wanted to stop. I'm writing this book several months after finishing my through hike. My knees still hurt from those 5 million steps, and I'm not sure how long the pain will continue. I was away from people I loved for 6 months. So you might be wondering, was it worth it? I followed a dream one step after another for 5 million steps. No one can ever take that accomplishment away from me. I left my comfort zone and healed the heaviness in my heart. I planned and saved money and learned to live on a tight budget. I also learned to value every item I carried because my life depended on it. Despite all the challenges in the end, not only was through hiking worth it, it was an invaluable experience.